Hey, this is Mandu here from NoSleepCreative. Today we're going to continue from where we left off from the Ordinary Folk intro video animation. I hope you love the show today. Let's analyze our reference scene and see what we can observe. The second part is broken into two pattern design and animation as shown here. This is a simplified drawing of what the pattern looks like. Much of the setup we're building today will involve using intermediate expressions, so I hope you're excited. Before we begin, I'd like to share more tutorials with you. As I have started school, I believe I have less time to make long-form tutorials like this, but short-form carousel posts on Instagram seem more manageable, so please check it out if you have not. Alright, thank you for listening. Let's get on with the tutorial. In After Effects, create a composition that's 1080 by 1080 and make it 5 seconds long and click OK. First of all, we're going to right click, New, Now Object, and call this Controls. And I'm going to type in a slider in my Effects and Preset panel and drop in 4 slider control, and I can duplicate them using Command D. So the first one, I'm going to name it Scale underscore X. Second one will be Scale underscore Y. Third one will be for Rotation, Rod. And the fourth one will be for our tangent position. So we're going to use trigonometry to automate some of the process later. Next, double click on the rectangle tool to create a square. And we're going to need 3 more of them, so hit Command D to duplicate them. And let's name the first one Master. And then the second one will be Fill. And the third one will be Top. And the last one will be Bottom. So I'm going to label the master to be greens. And press S to open up the scale. And we're going to connect the scale to the slider control over here. So square bracket, pick width to the scale X, comma, and then pick width to the scale Y and close it with a square bracket. And now, if I were to just solo this layer, I can control the size of my square using the slider control in my now. So we're going to set it at 100 for now. So this will be our main parent. Next thing I want to do is let's connect our fill rotation. Option click on the stopwatch and then just pick with it to the rotation slider. I'm going to change this fill to be a green color. And I'm using all these colorful, vibrant colors, so it's much easier for you guys to see the design and animation instead of the grayscale color palette from Ordinary Folk. We will change the color later at the end of the tutorial. So once we've done that, what we need to do is to set the anchor point to the top of the layer. And we'll be doing that a lot, so it'll be good to install this script UI called Reposition Anchor Point. So if I would just click on this arrow and click Reposition, you can see it set the anchor point at the top for me. So you can download this for free at ahscript.com. The link is in the description below. Now let's set the position to be 540. And one thing about this script UI or the script is that it will kind of remove every expression. I guess it overwrites the setting. So we need to reconnect our rotation value again. So let's do that. And now I can just do it. I can just rotate my fill. And I just want to make it a little bit bigger. So maybe about 400%. And also I would want to only have it stay within my master layer, right? To show up within the alpha or master layer. So I can go to my effects and preset panel and type in set mat and drop on the effect and select master. So later it'll just, when we play with the scale, actually I can just show you right now. When I scale the X and I play with the rotation, you can see it stays within the alpha of our master. I'm going to undo that. And then the next thing we are going to do is to, let's see, I'm going to select the bottom and top layer and just give it another color. So this blue color over here. And I'm going to change the anchor point of my top to the bottom and the bot layer to anchor point to the top, and press P to open up the position. And you want to set the position for the Y for the top to be 0 and for the bottom layer to be 1080. Okay, so if we were to zoom out, you can see they are stacked like that. Let's set our scale. Okay, so this is fine. Let's parent actually everything to our master now. So now that we parent this, we parent it to the master, we are going to enter an expression into the scale so that it does not inherit the scale changes from the master layer. So this is, you can copy this expression and then just paste it onto the scale. So this expression is from Dan Aber. You can check how this expression works by going to his website, motionscript.com, and I'm gonna just copy it over to there. Actually, I don't need it for the fill. I'm gonna just leave it as it is. So let's get rid of that. So now when I go into my control layer and I play my Y scale, notice that the scale of my top and bottom, right? It did not change at all, but it is moving in position like that. So, but when we try to scale it in the x-axis, right, it does not follow. So we got to make some tweak to this expression. So let's go into the top expression, type EE, and then, so the simple modification we need to make is after this for loop, we just need to type in square bracket 100 and then comma s square bracket 1. So we do not want to inherit basically only the y scale, and then the x scale can be inherited from the parent. So let's click on that and you can see it work. And also to just make our life easier, instead of just copying this expression over, you can just option click on the scale, right? And just pick with it to have the same scale like that. There you go. So now that we've done this, you can play around with the x scale like that and the y scale. You can see how like everything is just compact together. So I'm gonna set everything to 50 for now, and we'll move on to creating our circles, our semicircles. So let's go to our shape tool and double click on the ellipse tool, and I'm gonna change this to white, and then I'm gonna add in a trim path, and then I'm gonna set the start to be 50%. I'm gonna Command D, and then I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna open up the trim path, and then I'm gonna set the start to 0 and the end to 50%. So we get this full circle. I'm gonna name this circle right, and the other one will be circle left. So L, and then let's set the position of this circle to be 0. Actually, no, the one on the right should be 1080 at the edge of the comb, and the one on the left will be 0. So it'll snap there. And let's set our control back to 100 again. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to parent it. We're going to parent this to the master, and then use the same expression as we did earlier on. I'm going to press S, option click on the stopwatch and paste it in. And I'm just going to option click, since the scale is going to be the same, I'm going to just have the right circle be the same as the left. And now let's see what happens when we scale in the x-axis. You can see it's like sandwiching it into the center, right? But if we change the y, we want to have the circle scale down as the y scale of the parent is changing. So again, we need to make some modification to this expression, and it's pretty simple. First of all, we need to find the increment of the change, which is basically the y-axis. So we can type in the variable increment inc is equals to the y scale, and we need to zero it out first because we're trying to find what's the offset value. So we minus it by 100, and then we add it to our existing value plus. So this is a shorthand. So if I were to type this, value plus equals inc, because this is an array, it's a set of two values, right? So this line over here is as good as saying value plus inc, comma, inc. So I mean, yeah, it's as good as this. It's just a shorthand of just adding values to our variable. So we're just gonna use value plus equals this array over here, and you can see it snapped accordingly. And there you go. See, now scale y, the circle is following, and the x is following as well. Very neat. So let's set it to 25, 50. And then the next thing we want to do is to create the internal fill for the circle. So let's select our fill and then Command D. And let's call this fill underscore circle and make it L. And we're going to change the color as well. Let's change it to a red color. Change the set mat to the circle left. And then we want to, let's duplicate it again. And because we need one for the right hand side. And let's change the set mat to the right. And let's select the fill and put it on top and color it yellow. Okay, so here's what we want to achieve next. When we rotate our control slider over here, we also need to, let's get rid of the rotation expression as well for the fill circle. So when we rotate this fill over here, what we want to have is what we want to do is to have this internal fill go down like that, and then the other one go up based on the angle of the rotation. And then, so we can do this using trigonometry. That's why we created a slider over here. So how it works, I'm going to illustrator is that imagine this is the main bar. This is the parent bar that we have, right? So we know the angle of rotation because we have it in the slider, and we know the size of the width of our parent layer, which is 1080, right? So we need to find that offset. We need to actually find the triangle that's on the right hand side, and this will give us the value of the opposite side, which is the length of the triangle, right? And so just to demonstrate, let's go into the now layer. Option click on the stopwatch. Type in R is equals to, and let's grab our rotation slider. R is equals to rotation semicolon, and our size, remember, it's 1080, and we got to make sure because we got split by half, so 1080 divided by 2, and then after that size times math.10, and then after that R. So when I scrub this value, right, it's gonna generate it's gonna generate the offset value that I need into this slider. This value is a little bit too high at 1200. That's because I forgot to convert this degrees into radians. So let me copy that and type in degrees to radian and paste in that slider control for rotation. And I forgot to add in the parentheses at the end, so be careful of that. So that's the expression, degrees to radian, and then the rotation. So now I got the value. Now I'm going to go into my position for my fill position. Right click on the stopwatch. No, right click and then separate dimension. And then after that, option click on the Y position. Type in value minus that tangent position. I'm going to copy this as well. And then after that, actually I can press and then go into my position as well. For my right fill circle, separate dimension. And I can just actually pick whip the Y position times -1. So it'll just be in the opposite direction. There you go. So I'm going to just collapse everything, and I'm going to show you how this thing works. So using that trigonometry function, now if I were to rotate, you can see that my red fill is following, this green fill rotation. So very good, very cool trick using math. And we just need to increase the scale of our the height of our internal fill. So let's go into our fill, press S, and just set the Y to be 200, 400 by 200. And then let's also just go reset everything back to 0. The next thing we want to do is to create the hero square. And then let's go to our shape tool and then create a rectangle. I'm going to set it to be about, press UU to open up the properties and set it to be 100 pixel. And I'm going to make it this color, this dark gray color. And I'm going to rotate it by 45 degree, and option click on the stopwatch, go to the control again. We connect it. So we can connect it to the rotation, and then plus 45. So now when I rotate it, the square rotates, and then so does my fill too. But you notice that it's not aligning, even though the angle should be correct. This is because we have a different value of X and Y. If this was set to 50%, right, this will work perfectly. because the scale is being skewed. So we got to fix this. So what we need to do is set this back to 0 for now. The cause of the problem is the parenting. So I need to actually grab all my circle fill, all my fill, and actually unparent them. And then this will solve my problem if I were to rotate it now. But you will notice that my tangent does not line up perfectly as I did earlier on. So this is because the size of the scale changes. So we gotta make modification to our tangent position. So let's press EE, and so the size itself we know is 1080 based on the size of our master shape layer width. And then we need to change the factor, because right now the x and y scale change. So we got to find the factor. So we got to grab the x and then divide by 100. And then after that, we need to times the factor over here. And you can see it solved the problem, right? So let's actually just double check. There we go. If I were to change the scale, it still works as well, even though the angle is changing as I skew it using different angles. So let's set it back to 50. So that's one problem solved. So the thing about like writing expression is that you're always troubleshooting. You fix one problem and you're gonna create another one. So 80% of the time you're spending 80% of the time in After Effects, you're actually troubleshooting, not really animating or writing the code. Okay, so we got the hero circle to work, and let's set the rotation back to 0. And the next thing we're gonna do is to create, so we're actually done with this setup. We can actually extend this composition back to 1920, and we can create the pattern too now. So we're gonna go Command N to create a new composition, and let's call it 2B, and I'm gonna make it 1080 by 1080, and we are going to create a square, and I'm gonna call this plate, and I'm gonna need like more squares, so I'm gonna Command D to duplicate it, call this one side, and Command D. We need four squares, so I'm gonna color the plate green, and then so we have this. So this will be our main one over here. This plate, let's color it green as well. And the next thing we want to do is kind of change the anchor point of all this square, right? So I'm just gonna scale it down to 50% so you guys can see. Actually, no, it's fine. So I'm gonna select the side, each triangle. So we're gonna arrange it in this fashion where it's stacked like in the pattern I shown in analysis. So the position actually is it's actually we gotta change the anchor point first. So let's select this one. This one should be on the bottom right, and this one should be on the top right. And then for number 3, it will be at the bottom left, and number 4, it will be the top left, right? And now we can set the position to be 0, 540, and let's do the same thing. Paste it to side 2. The position for side number 3 is 1080 by 540. And let's copy it and paste it over. Oh, I pasted the wrong data. So let's copy the position, paste it like that. So I guess I forgot to center the anchor point. So let's do that again and paste it in. Cool. And now we are going to do the same thing as we did earlier. Just parent everything to our control plate. And let's use our expression to not inherit the scale. And then paste it in. And then I can just copy the scale and paste it onto all of my site. So I have all my expression. And now if I were to play with this scale over here, there you go, it works. Just want to change the color of this to something else, to this red over here. Next, I'm going to just set this composition to Full HD now. Command K to open up the composition setting. And then I am going to make the triangles that happens within this red squares. So let's Command D both of them, put it on top, and I'm going to change the color to white. And then open up the rotation. Let's create a slider control within the plate. So let's go to our effects and preset panel, type in slider control, type in rotation or rot, option click on the stopwatch, and pick with it to our now control over here, our slider control. And let's paste it in to site number 6. And now if I were to keyframe the position of the rotation from, let's just say, oh, not the rotation, but the slider control. So this one, yes. So we want it to have it start at 0 degree, and then after that, at about 13 frames down, we're gonna make it about 45, negative 45. And then at frame 21, let's have it back at negative 90. But here's the thing, we don't only want to show it within the red circle, a red square. So we want to use a set matte effect. And let's just double click on it and set site number 6 to site number 4, which is over here. And as for site 5, which is the top left triangle, let's set it to the first one, site. So now if I were to play it, there we go. We can actually trim this composition down to 3 seconds. So next thing we want to do is to animate the squares, just extending in the scale like that. So what we can do is to press S. Okay, we can grab this and this, right? Grab the scale. And we want it to actually start at, let's have it start at 12.5, right? So for this one, I'll make sure to uncheck constraint proportion. We want this one to extend in the y-axis. So let's have this one start at 12.5. And the other one also 12.5. And of course, remember to uncheck constraint proportion. And just to kind of reduce the keyframes we have, right? Let's option click on this site number 4 and pick with it to scale, the scale of for site number 1. So we can actually get rid of this keyframe over here, right? So we can now control everything from this set of keyframes. So we're going to do the same thing for site 2, right? So let's press S and uncheck constraint proportion. And then after that, oh, actually, I made a mistake. So we actually want this top 2 to scale in terms of in the x-axis. So let's set this back to 12.5 and 100 at the start. So it's just gonna extend out like that. And we're gonna do the opposite. We're gonna do the what we originally did to scale site 2. So click on the stopwatch. And we are going to move this keyframe down to this position and set it to be the y-axis to be 12.5. And play it. Nice. So we're almost done with this setup. And then we're just going to go into site number 3, option click on the stopwatch, and then pick with it to site number 2. If I were to play it, it works. If I were to change the scale, it's being pushed out. So that's good. That's what I want. Let's also uncheck constraint proportion. Let's set everything back to 100. So it's a square like that. Very nice. Hit Command S to save. So now that we're done with the setup, we can actually put in colors. And now we can start animating. Let's actually copy everything we have over here and then paste it into the composition and put it at the back. And I actually can just lock it for now and then just hide it because we just want to focus on one thing only. So over here, I have some guide layers to help me with the animation because I can't remember all the values and timing. So we're going to set all the keyframes on my control layer for scale X and Y, scale X, Y, and rotation. And we're going to start off with 20 for the X and the Y to be 100 and go down to about frame 13. And I'm just going to zoom in like that. And then go down to frame 13. And let's have the scale X go to 50, and have the scale Y go down to 75. So let's shift it a few frames down, and the rotation at frame 15 will be, let's see, that's actually, set a keyframe for 0. The rotation should be 53 at the start. So let's play it. And then after that, it's just going to, at frame 21, it's going to just rotate it in an opposite direction. So negative 50, not opposite direction, but just keep rotating like that. Okay. So as this is going on, right, we want the scale, let's put a keyframe. While this is going on, it's going to extend out slightly. And then after that, a whole bunch more like that at frame. And let's make it 110. So let me zoom out. So 110 is a little bit too much. So let me actually just scale down the Y like that. And maybe even for the scale Y, instead of 75%, let's make it 50%. Okay. And then let's see, when we go out and to over here, so that's a good size, right? And yeah, let's see. So I still have a bunch of more keyframes over here, but for now, I'm just gonna go blind and just turn this off. Okay, so we have it turning and then scaling it as it becomes bigger. Of course, I'm gonna just do easy ease and let you guys play around with the graph editor, because that would take a lot of time just to get the timing right. Okay, so as this is going on, what we need to do is just let's open up our plate, the set B, right? Our pattern B design, and let's get our keyframes out as well. And I actually have also another set of keyframes over here, guide layer, to help me. So what we want to start off with for the rotation is actually at negative, no, the rotation, let's see. Oh, right. You can see that, actually, let me just solo this layers over here. So you can see there's a problem. Even though we apply a set mat effect, it seems like it's gone. That's because when we copy it over from another composition, the set mat effect actually kind of changed back to its default. So we got to change it back to the original source mat. So for site 5, it'll be site like that. Okay, so and then so that will fix everything. So let's start off with the rotation. Like, the rotation is fine. Okay, so we can start off with so maybe for the timing, it's gonna start off at negative 12.5. Let's start off at 0. Sorry, and then around to frame 13, it will be negative 45, and then at frame 21, it will be at 0. And as for the scale, we can have it at frame 13. Oops. At frame 13, let's move this over here. And since we keyframe it just now, we're just basically moving a timing. Let's also just right click. Let's do an easy ease in. Yeah, so that seems fine. Let's unsolo everything. And then let's just zoom out and see. So the next thing that's gonna happen is that when it reaches frame 21, right? Our pattern B is actually gonna disappear. So it's right after this. So it'll be like that. And it's gonna extend out, and not just our pattern, not just our pattern B, but also our internal fill. So let's go to frame 21, hold Alt, square bracket to kind of trim the layer. And also, so it's just gonna keep extending out. So let's go to our control. Let's have it scale like a little bit drift. So it's gonna scale, and then after that, it's gonna just bounce back into 0. Okay, so you can notice we have a problem over here. You can see our internal view is suddenly shifting because of some parenting issue. So let's set it to act. And then our second problem is that when we set it to 0, we get an error message and our circle disappear. Right? So I'll show you a workaround for that. So let's change the scale X to be 5. Let's put a keyframe here. And then, so let's solve the easiest one, which is the circle, the error message. We do have the circle show up when it's 0. So if you just type in, instead of typing 0, right, if you type in 0.0001, see, this will work because the value is so small, but it still exists. And so, and now for the fill issue, right, you can see that our fill is supposed to be stay constant. This fill is not supposed to move, but because we have some parenting issue, not say parenting issue, the parent is causing it to scale back down to our original size. So we can go into our fill. Actually, we need to change the expression for our control. So let's press UU to open up everything. So what we want to do is that when the scale X is at maybe when it's less than 40, right? When it's less than 40, just use a constant value, stop changing. So let's grab X. Let's actually copy this. Actually, let me just do it here again. So X is equals to pick width to our X scale, semicolon. And let's see, if X is less than or equals to 40, then just use the value of negative 500 and then curly bracket, else use the original trigonometric function that we use. See if that works. So let's see. So you can see our is still obeying what we did earlier on, but as we proceed past as our x value decreases, you can see we stop having that problem. So this is just a quick cheat to kind of make expression obey what you want to do. Okay, and okay, so the next thing we want to do is also to rotate the ball, rotate the circle. But when we rotate the circle, so I'm gonna grab, so the circle, it's not rotating. You can grab the field and rotate it, and you can't grab the circle L to rotate it because it's currently parented. So it's very wonky. We need to create a new circle. So let's create an ellipse, and then let's press UU and make it 1080. And let's call this circle duo. So the first thing we're gonna do is get the size right. Get the size same as the R. So let's actually make it green as well and go to the point where the two circle merges. So I think it was about frame, let's see. Yeah, so this frame over here. So once we've done that, we need to grab the scale of our circle R, right? To make, actually we could just manually just, scale it like that. But we can also just, I guess we could. It's just, yeah, since it's at 50%, so that's fine. It'll make our life easier. Okay. And then the next thing, so we want to do is to make that dual tone. So I am going to actually turn this off and then go to layer, layer style, and then drop in a gradient overlay and open up my gradient overlay, edit gradient, and I'm just going to select the color of my dual tone circle, pick with it, and then I'm going to set the position to be 50%. So when they're at the same position, right, you can see that, right, when you have, it will become basically, this sharp gradient. So there's no gradation. And then let's option click on the angle. And then we're going to go to our control layer. Let's create another slider control for our rotation of our circle. So double click on it, on the slide control, type in rod_circle, and let's pick with the angle to the rotation circle. Right? So now we can rotate it like that. You can't rotate it with the layer rotation. It doesn't work like that. You have to use the layer style. So now we have our control of our circle. Okay. So when it hits, it's just going to review this circle over here, this dual tone circle. So actually got to put it here. And then after that, trim it down. Trim down the layer, split at that over there. And then let's keyframe the rotation circle. Okay, so let's actually have it start at, let's reset it first. And also the rotation is supposed to be 180, start at 180 degree. And let's have it be rotated become rotate into 90-degree. And then let's have it go rotate a little bit more. Let's see. Let's play it first. So it's gonna rotate it more, and then after that, just I guess it's gonna go move back a little bit to -13. Let's press U to get the keyframes out. And I'm just gonna right click, easy ease for now. Let's play it. So when it meshes, so I think that needs to be a faster. When it meshes, especially this part over here. So what I can do is, let's actually look at my keyframe guides. So I think for the X, it needs to be just a little bit faster. So like that. So let's move it down to at about 2:11. That's when it reaches 0. Okay. And then let's see. And let's get rid of the middle keyframe that I had over here. Okay. And then let's move at 2:10. That's when actually but that's when the ball hits. That's when the ball that's when the circles uh hits and just merges to be and rotate. Let's play it. Yes. As you can see, it's gonna take a lot of work to get the timing right. And also I just discovered another problem here. You can see that because we write the expression for the tangent control when it's less than when it's 40, right? So let's actually press EE. So I wrote an expression that basically uses a constant value when it's negative. When if the x scales go below 40. But thing is, we already started off at our scale. We already started at 50. No, our scale we started off at 20. So it's already below like 40 already. So we got to change our setup once more. So instead of that, what we can do is, there's many ways to do this. We can use fill, or we can just write it after 2 seconds. All right. Um, so off the top of my head, if time is more than equals to 2 seconds, it will just use a constant value. Oh, let's see. There shouldn't be a semicolon inside. See? So it'll use the trigonometry value over here. But once, past 2 seconds, it'll just stay constant. So we don't need to worry about it. It shouldn't break unless you have different timings. Okay. So let's play it. And so yes, we also need the square to disappear at about frame 21. So let's grab somewhere here around 1 second. And we're missing one more element actually. We're missing the hero circle. So we're just going to double click on the ellipse tool, press UU, change the size down to 1080, and then have it animate a circle like that from the scale, size 5%. So we're just going to animate it according to, oh, we also need to animate the hero square. So it's going to start off small and then become a little bit bigger like that. So maybe 250 seems pretty good. And then maybe when it's like spinning, it can come down to about 150. So as for the circle, it's going to follow it, just become bigger. So you can have a lot of artistic freedom over here and then scale it down. So maybe when it actually hits, instead of, we can make it actually become bigger. Let's have it dominate it and see what happens. Okay, maybe I need to get rid of this keyframe. So let's play it. It needs to be a lot more faster. So let's right click and easy and see what happens. So, okay, it's somewhat there. So as it scale up, all right, maybe let's let's shift the hero circle to be like that. So it's gonna scale up, and then boom, it becomes bigger, and it scales down a little bit smaller. So again, just to make my life easier, I have my guide keyframes over here because I cannot remember all the keyframes value, so all the timing itself. So let's do that. So let me just shift. Let me rename this hero underscore circle, and also the hero square. Let's make it dark green, so we know all the greens one are the one that we animate. So it's going to become fit within the square. Oops, let's deselect everything first. So it's gonna fit in the square, and then it becomes bigger, and then after that it is going to just drift, slowly become bigger. So we had it about 29, so maybe you want to grow onto 30, right? And then afterwards, when it's about to close down, let's have it become smaller, and then down again. So let me just adjust this keyframe at frame 15. Okay, so I think this could be smaller. I think that's all I need for now. Okay, let me get rid of more of my guides because this should be fine. Of course, the timing is not the best, but that's something you guys can work on. Because if I do, it's gonna take this tutorial is probably be more than 1 hour. So we also want to get rid of the circle when it's close to the end. Plit. Okay. So something like that. And if you follow the previous tutorial, I have this noise layer, right? That we can just drop on, put it below the hero circle, and set it to alpha matte. So let's play it. There we go. So we get that noisy circle, and I think the animation is there. It's just it needs to be faster. Like especially, I think that it's just this part. So let's see. Let's go into my control. Press U. So I want to just speed this up. Go to my keyframe assistant, and let's see. I want to have it start off slow, and then speed up really fast at the end. So let's play it. It could be faster. Okay. Huh. Maybe I just need to shift the keyframes down. Let's shift the keyframes down towards this. Okay. Maybe. Oh, wait. Hold on a sec. All right. So I fixed the X scale, and now I just need to just, it took some time, but yeah. At frame 21, I actually want everything to disappear. So I need to actually be at frame 20 and just option square bracket. Option square bracket like that. Split. I think the last thing I can do if without getting too deep into it is just to fix some mistakes. Like for example, this ball, it should show up a little like over here. So let's move this keyframe down. Okay, so there we go. Yes, let's play it. And so it's I think if what needs to work is definitely the rotation of the circle, right? To kind of simulate like that impact of it hitting, and then kind of like have that inertial drift or rotation. But at this point, this is something I need to leave it up to you. You can take a look at Ordinary's folk video and then just match the timing on your own. So once you're done with all the animation, right? And hopefully you have done part 1 of the tutorial where we make this setup. We made this setup of uh, this animation just clamping. right? Split. So right when it's about to kind of become smaller, right? You want to place in part 2 that we made today, and just put it actually underneath it, right? And then so it just transitions to the next scene. So if done correctly, this is what you have. It definitely took me a lot of time for like only, let's see, how many seconds of work is this? It's only five less than 5 seconds, but it's taking so much time. So yeah, keep going. And yeah, that's the end of the tutorial. And we're done. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe so this video can get to more people. I hope you love this master study. If you made something with this tutorial, please tag me on Instagram at DesmondDo because I love to see what you came up with on your own or what you learned. All right, that's all I have for you guys. I'll see you next time.